So I really like this slide. Hands up if you're in the middle, those who are very confused. I'm still very confused, and I've been doing this a while. Where's my clicker? Down here. That's the one. Great. So it's an absolute pleasure, a real delight to be here. I find working with Stu and Liz incredibly inspiring. Their ability to bring people together, to convey something that personally I feel is really important is a huge gift, I think, to all of us. So I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for being here too. So my name is Jane Cockerell, and as Stu mentioned, I'm chief exec of a charity. The rest of the team are all based in Zambia. I've got a history as in aid work and running charities. For about 17 years I've been involved in non-profits, and I've either been overseas doing this sort of stuff, or I've been running organisations based in the UK, and have also travelled backwards and forwards to help look after these projects. I now also coach people and work with people who are in the non-profit sector, or a social entrepreneur, or kind of anything a bit do-goody. I kind of say where people and planet are at least as important as profit. So that's a little bit about me, and what I wanted to do was today was to kind of see if we can field test these principles a bit, because if they're true, if this is true, if this understanding is true, then it has to hold up for everybody who is a human in every situation. And because I've had the privilege and the opportunity of working in some places which are complicated, then I've got a perspective on that. Now, it's not to say that perspective is true. Firstly, it can't be true because it's coming through this thinking. And even if it were that I was incredibly clear and able to convey that in what I saw, my ability to convey that through the kind of medium of language is always going to be quite clunky. So as I say, I'm going to share what I see or have seen, and hope that that's going to be useful to you, or it's going to be interesting. So one of the things that I wanted to point to first of all was I was about 10 years overseas in various situations. This is South Sudan, and in that particular program I was running, I had 700 staff working in 32 clinic locations across 4 of the most dodgy, for want of a better expression, places in South Sudan. We had incidents. I was hijacked, shot at. I had team members who were on the phone to me whilst being hijacked or shot at. I had a member of staff stab another member of staff, and generally had some quite intense experiences. And although I didn't understand, I didn't have the knowledge of the 3 principles or this inside-out understanding at the time, what was really clear to me was that something happened in those situations where I got really clear, or I should say more accurately, clarity came about. It got really quiet, I got really still, really focused, and it was like Jane's neuroses disappeared. So all of the stress and the anxiety I had about, money and numbers and funding and people from head office trying to tell me what to do, and the guy that I thought was cute that didn't like me, and all of the stuff that kind of filled my world, as does, even when you're doing this stuff, would disappear when there was an intensity or a moment where clarity was required. And I haven't been brought up religious, but the only language that I could bring to it was God's looking out for us. God's on the side of the good guys. Because what would happen is get really clear, good information would come through, the whole situation would be handled, no nerves, nothing. I've landed a plane that had mechanical failure. That's great. So if you want to know more, you can buy me a drink afterwards, but it's absolutely crazy stuff. But it wasn't me, it was through me. It was that wisdom, that that was there that I had a moment of smarts kind of, in that moment saw that maybe it was helpful to just focus and get clear and allow that through. And what I want to do is maybe just for a moment reflect in those moments that you have had where actually something similar has happened for you, where there has been a situation which has been difficult or a crisis or an emergency, where actually in the moment of the situation you did know. No matter what happened afterwards, no matter the stories afterwards, but in that moment. So I like to share that because I didn't know about the 3 principles understanding at the time, but it still operates. This operates even if you don't know. So for folks who are living in Hargeisa, which is this slide and this slide, these people have the same system operating. And these people, from what I have seen, have the same level, the same range of human emotions as we do. They are living in incredibly difficult circumstances to do with poverty, conflict, illness, lack of resources, lack of education. They do not have comfortable existences in the same way that we do. But the more I have worked with folks over the years, the more I have been amazed at the resilience and also seen the joy. Now, I only started to see the joy when I started to understand this, because it wasn't coming then through my thinking about the situation. So the Hargeisa that I would see would be this. This is the mental health unit at Hargeisa Group Hospital. This is where some of the mental health patients are kept. We need to be glad they're not still chained to their beds in that kind of situation. So what I was seeing and experiencing as an aid worker in South Sudan, in Hargeisa, in all these other places, was coming through my thinking, and that would colour the situation I saw. When I started to see that, I could see that what was going on for all of those folks was the full spectrum of human experience that we all have, and that the resistance to that, the arguing with the situation, was what would be causing the suffering. Not the physical suffering, but the psychological suffering. And it's quite kind of controversial, really, because for actually people to be in those situations, still be able to have joy, have happiness, have a sense of even of security. So this is Hargeisa. This Abdul on the end here, he runs the ice cream parlour. This is Aisha, who's this really cute kid living in an IDP camp. And they are having the ups and downs that we have. And they are living out the principles in the same way as we live out the principles. So there's moments where they get confused and unclear and resist. And quite often, again, it is around the silly things like not Aisha not getting on with one of her friends, rather than the stuff that's actually about the profound physical difficulties and the lack of resources that they're experiencing. So it seems to me, it looks to me, with the benefit of this understanding about how the way the world works, that we all have this innate resilience, we all have wisdom, and the extent to which we allow thinking to cloud that is the extent to which we're going to suffer, no matter what the externals. It also meant that as an aid worker, I became much more effective when I didn't have a story of this is wrong. So the thing that first moved me to come into aid work, it wasn't so much, I wasn't angry about the state of the world, but I was like, right, this needs fixing. Let's go off and be Robin Hood. Let's take from the rich, i.e. the West nations, and give to the poor. These folks overseas, like da-da-da. But there was still a sense of having to work extremely long hours and be anxious, and that's wrong, and we need to fix that. That can't be happening. And in that, I wasn't necessarily that effective as a leader. I didn't do bad, but I believe that actually if I had seen this more clearly, and since I've seen this more clearly, I've become better at working with teams and becoming more effective in the delivery, the simple delivery of the services, the creative process of running the projects that make the world more physically easy for folks in these situations. So I just want to bring it back into this room because I think that's helpful. I think this is probably the best quote to me that encapsulates this understanding. All we are is peace, love, and wisdom, and the power to create the illusion that we are not. All we are here and now is peace, love, and wisdom, and the power to create the illusion that we're not. So what I was wondering is if you would be okay with this, is just maybe to close your eyes for a moment and kind of have a sense of being in the room here. And what I want you to do is see if you can perceive somehow where your thoughts are coming from, where the sounds are arising from. The space that's prior to the thoughts and the thinking and the I that you think you are. That space, that source. And then, do you think that that's the same space or the same source that's available to or is being experienced by the rest of the folks in this room? And does it feel like it could be something like the peace, love, and wisdom that we are? And if you open your eyes and you look at Aisha and you look at Abdul, do you think that they are made of the same space, the same peace, love, and wisdom that you are, that you just experienced? Because if that's true, then we are one thing. We are oneness. We are one world. There's no third world. And to me, that's the place from which there's infinite creative possibility.